Your name is Akiva, right?
Yeah. So, I just need to make sure it's working here. One, two. Okay, testing. 1, 2.
I can't be on the camera.
Heard that. Okay.
David's coming in for Yom Tov. Kabbalah Torah is in the Yeshivah.
So in this week's parsha, where it talks about the Nesiim, the person for Shevet Yisachar, which is associated with learning Torah, his name is Nesanel ben Tzur. Right? Was that name? Nesanel ben Tzur. So the name Nesanel is, of course, associated with learning. It is a pleasure to welcome to Tzeh Ulmad Harav Nesanel Fettman. I'll read you a little bit about him for those who don't know. Please correct if it's wrong. He studied in Yeshivas Vilyapol. Is that pronounced correctly? Vialpol. I did that on purpose. Make sure you're listening. He studied in Brisk. I know the Rebbe speaks at the Siyam Hashas.
And then what?
He learned Yeshiva. He learned in Brisk, and he learned in Reb Muller's Koilel. He joined Rabbi Tzibner in founding Yeshiva Keser David to provide a truly unique environment to enable any Talmud who desires for success to reach unimaginable heights. His special ability to make Emunah something real and tangible for his Talmidim can also break down a Gemara in a way that enables Talmidim on different levels. Please, no Gemara tonight here. I'm just, I'm kidding. That's okay. But anybody who's been here for Night Seder has seen his devotion and his smile, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to Tzeh Ulmad.
Oh, wow, what an introduction.
Now you got to perform. It's a big build-up.
And tonight is sponsored by the Krieger family, Rosh Rishon, L'chol Davar Shebekdusha. Not only in sponsoring Tzeh Ulmad, who always says yes, but this week I saw firsthand how him and his buddies were saved somebody's life. And I heard Amir Hashem that he's coming home for Shabbos. Binyamin Ben Mir is coming home for Shabbos. Yeah, coming home for Shabbos. So it's also sponsored Krieger family in honor of the grandchild Yisrael Chaim Shuchat, right? Shochet. And Refuah Shlema for Binyamin Ben Miriam. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so I'll begin with what my son literally showed me like 5 minutes ago as I was preparing in Babiv. And I was rushed. I told him, give me ideas, because I remembered. Rabbi Akiva mentioned to me Yeshivah, and I forgot about it. So my son opened up Medrash Nachum, and it says, Vaydaber Elohim, Hashem spoke, as Kol Advar Ma'ela Leimar, to say. So we know always it says Vaydaber Hashem El Moshe Leimar. So what's the Leimar? So he spoke to Moshe, Leimar, to say over to the Jewish people. But if here the nusach of the pasuk is Vaydaber Elohim as Kol Advar Ma'ela, Hashem spoke all these words. Leimar, to say who is he speaking to first? And the Medrash Nachum says, brings a pasuk in Eiv. This is what the pasuk means. Oz Ra Vayisapra, he saw it, he told it over, Hechina prepared it, V'gam Chakara, he went through it, thought it through. And then it says Vayomer LaAdam. In the next pasuk, Vayomer LaAdam, and he said to the person, Limda HaTorah, the Torah teaches you, Shemtia Ben Torah, if you're going to be a Ben Torah, Loi Teheru Chacha Gasa, don't be a balgai, V'loi Mardav L'fnei HaTzibur, to get up before the people and speak, At Shetivshait Oisa, until you work it through 2 or 3 times by yourself. And my son saw I was asking, give me ideas, what should the topic be? And he's giving me muscle. Yeah, so he's right. My Rabbi Akiva, there's a story with Rabbi Akiva. Shekara Achazim Barabim Likras B'Sefer Torah B'Tzibur. He was called up to read in the Sefer Torah, but Loi Ratzalalos. He didn't want to go, and they told him, you're supposed to go and learn Torah. Why you was lamanim not to milalos? Amalan. So he told them, "Avoida learnim not to likrois, ela al shloish darti oisa parsha shnaim shloisha pa'amen." I didn't prepare myself. I didn't go over it a few times. You're not allowed to say the v'toy l'fnei hatzibur achi yifshet oisa shnaim shloisha pa'amen. Because you find it by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he says. Hashem, Torah Gluya Lefanav completely, but on that the Pasuk says in Eve, Ozra, Hashem saw it, by Sapra, he went through it. Echima V'gam Chakara was all set up and clear. And then, Vayomer, Lord, we spoke to the person, and the Medrash Takuma says that's what it means. Vayidaber Lekim as Kol Advarim Ha'ela means Hashem said it to himself. And then, Lamar to say it to the Jewish people. But first of all, Vayidaber Lekim as Kol Advarim Ha'ela. And we'll get back to the Medrash soon. I was just thinking a couple of kashas that we could, address as Shavuos is coming up. It's a pella. We all know we stay up Shavuos night. The Jewish people, Klal Yisrael, slept through the night. But we know that we're doing Sfiras HaOmer, well, Achana for Matan Torah. So for 49 days, everyone's getting ready, and you're getting, all hyped up for the big event, and then you fall asleep. What's that pshat that the Yiddin fell asleep? That's a question that everyone addresses. Another question is, there's an interesting mitzvah Hashem gave to Moshe Rabbeinu. Hagbei l'sa'am, make a gather, keep the nation away. They're not let it go on the mountain. They're not let it come close. And tonight, we're starting Shloishes Yimei Agbala. Everyone knows it's called on Al Shem Dagbala. What's the interesting thing that we made this, besides the Achana and the Prisha, there was Agbala around the mountain, keeping away. What's this Inyan? And we're commemorating it till today. People listen to music, even by Hasidim who don't listen the entire Sfira. The haircut, they only do Erev Shavuos, Al Pi Arizal. But the music, they do earlier.
All Hasidim have that name?
I don't know if all, but many. I know Chabad, I think Rosh Hasidim, yeah.
According to some Hasidim.
No, I'm thinking even Chabad, but I grew up in not, and I know that from some Chabad. Yeah. Another question, we know Kriya Ma'aras as man, all the Chassidish Sfarim always go that the Parshas are important. How does Parshas Bamidbar have a connection to Kabbalah Torah? It always comes out in Chumash Bamidbar, after Parshas Bamidbar. What's the Shaykhis? It's question 3. Question 4, we count the Sfira. So we know each week is a different midah. There's Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet. I think we could all relate. Chesed, kindness, Gevura. What's Malchus? We come the last week is before Shavuos is midah of Malchus. Netzach, Hoy, I mean, these things need to be explained. What's Malchus? Malchus Shabbat Malchus is 49, and then now we're ready for Kabbalah Torah. What does that mean in a practical level? Also, it's Yedua Vayichan Sham Yisrael Negadar Keish Echad V'Leiv Echad Lashon Yachid, and we don't know it needs to be Achdus for Kabbalah Torah. But why so? I'm saying, versteht sich, you only have Fila B'Tzibur if you have a minion, but I want to be Makabal Torah myself, and there are many great tzaddikim that were there's some that were involved with the public room, some that, themselves. I have my Torah from Hashem. Why is only Keish Echad B'Leiv Echad? So maybe, we all know the only praise that the Torah gives to Moshe Rabbeinu, not the only, but the biggest shvach that the Torah gives to Moshe Rabbeinu is that he was Anav Mikol Adam. That's the greatest, and Moshe was the biggest Navi, but he was the biggest Anav. In other words, these two go together. Because he was the biggest Anav, he was Zoiche to be the Mekabel HaTorah, the Nesanel HaTorah. The Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, Moshe Kibbel Torah Sinai, and all the Svarim ask, he was Kibbel Torah Mei Hashem, why Sinai? And then Masber, he learned from Har Sinai, which was the lowest of all the mountains. And so that's, we understand that the Achana for Kabbalah Torah is Anava. Now, why Taka is Anava? Humbleness, Moshe Rabbeinu, the Nesanel Torah, Har Sinai. Why is Anava so important? So when we say Yal V'Yava, we say Zman Matan Torah Seinu. But the truth is, Zman Matan Torah Seinu, that's from Hashem's perspective. Hashem is the giver. For us, it's the Chag of Kabbalah Torah. We're receivers, right? And so the whole essence of the Yom Tov is that we're saying we're taking ourselves away, we're being mevatel ourselves, and we're ready to accept whatever Hashem is giving to us. It's a famous story that one of the Talmidim of the Magdim was rich. He knocked on the door late at night, and he asked who's there, and he said, me. And he didn't open the door. And he asked, wait, why is the Rebbe not opening? He's out at night, and knocked again. After a couple of times, finally, the Rebbe opened, and he said, why not opening? And he said, there's only one me, only one I, or I, whatever. Anoichi Hashem. I said, who's here? I. He said, Reuven, Shimon, there's no I. So in order to be Mekabel the Anoichi, you got to be Mevatel the Anoichi. And we know a person has bechira, right? A person has a power to choose. And all the human beings have a power to choose. Hashem went to all the nations, we know, and offered them the Torah. So why did they end up now being mekabel? Because everyone asked, Ma ksivva, what's written? And they said, oh, lo yisirtzach, lo yisigno, it's not matim to who I am. Right? The Jewish people didn't ask. They said, Na'aseh v'nishma. The point of that was unique in the Jewish people is they didn't exist as an individual and say, okay, I'm here, and now I'm going to decide if what you're offering is compatible with me. They had anova, and they said, whatever is coming, we're going to be mekabel. Therefore, they were zoiche to be mekabel the Torah. So the essence of Kabbalah Torah is, right, a human being has freedom, has free choice, and his freedom, he could choose to lose that bechira, if that's the right. One, he says there's always the nekudas of bechira is known, that the battlefront is always at one plot. There's always a battle. Whatever you conquer is already conquered. So if you overcame certain things, you don't have to battle that. There's always going to be a battle line. But the things that you conquered, he said that you want it to be like that. You don't have to fight every time you pass McDonald's. You want that should be off the table. Your fight should be how long are you sitting in the Medrash and learning, or not if you're going to yell and so on, but how kind will you be, right? You always want to take away your bechira. The Kabbalah, you're not looking to always be the one deciding. Obviously, as long as we're alive, we're going to make decisions. We're going to have to make decisions. But the goal is what more to have things in the right direction, right? We're being mevatel ourselves to the Ratzon Hashem. So, and that also explains why Na'aseh v'nishma is such a big deal. We're Mishabeach, the Jewish people, for Na'aseh v'nishma. And that's because, like Rava told the tzedek, who saw the blood coming out of his finger, and he said, you're a wild people. You said Na'aseh koydem v'nishma. You didn't hear. How could you say? And he said, we go betmimus with Hashem. That's our mahalach. That was our godless, is that we will mevatel ourselves to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's what we're zeicha to the Torah. So, going back to the questions, so we know, let's say, midas hachesed. It says the expansion of chesed leads to znus. It says in all the svarim, meaning there's too much of a curve. Gvura is ritzicha, gnev, toughness, right? So every midah has milas and chesroinus, and you have to know how to channel it. So of course we have to work on each one and put it in the right way. Malchus and the Kabbalah svarim is always referred to as it's makabel. Yisoid is a mashpia. That's what midas yisoid is more than a mashpia on a tzachar. And Malchus is the receiver. Leslie Megar Meklum has nothing on its own. It's nothing. It's just there to receive. So, according to what we're saying, that's why Malchus and Malchus is the achana for Kabbalah Torah, because the ultimate, after whatever you're working on, you have to make sure then, especially when a person is being misakin his midas, you start feeling good about yourself. You start feeling, I am something. Then you have to work on the anava, right? Obviously, that's a never-ending job. They say the last words, I think, of the Arizal, I think he was saying he came from Sfarad originally. His parents, he left, I think maybe he was 3 years old when they went to Egypt, and then he moved from Egypt to Tzvaz. But he knew Spanish because Sfarad is Spain. To us, Spain is alter, but that was the sprach. And the last words he was saying was something in Spanish about humility. He was talking to himself, not to fall into guy, but also you do the Baal Shem Tov, Mamash, before he passed away. They saw his mouth moving, and they bowed down and they heard he's saying Al Tiviani Leregel Gaiva, something like that. Because that's a battle till the last minute of the person. There's always that ego and there's always I am, and the emphasis is only Hashem. We're here to do what we have to do. So
does Malchus get rid of the I completely? Is that to have no I? Because as soon as there's an I, there's Gaiva. And you're saying Malchus has to be.
So it's obviously not that there needs to be an I, because that, as long as that's what we're here to do. I think there's a mahalach, and I'm not an expert on this at all, but I think there is a mahalach in Kabbalah that eventually the neshama is an inyan of iskalalus, meaning you become included within the R of Hashem, right? Each neshama is its own. But at the end of the day, each neshama is its own individual thing, pashtus, and stays a level of identity of I. But our work, in order to be able to makabel the Torah, there needs to be a strong effort emphasized in anava. So, and therefore, maybe that's pshat why we're after Parshas Bamidbar or Chumash Bamidbar. The entire Chumash is unique. It's all the things that happened when Klal Yisrael was in the desert. And that's where we got the Torah, because the Torah, the Gemara says this lashon is only lemisha meisam atzma kemidbar. The Rachaim HaKadosh stresses in Parshas Yisro when it says B'chodesh Shlishi, b'yom hazeh bo midbar Sinai. Says, why does it stress that they came? We know we're talking about that. This nakuda that you have to be, the Torah is given dafka in a midbar, which a midbar everyone steps on. A midbar has nothing; it doesn't give anything of its own. And so it's not only Har Sinai; it's that Har Sinai was in midbar Sinai. Both things show on Anova, the low mountain and the Har, and that's the in of Anova. That's how we're zeichet the Torah. So I was thinking, perhaps this that we say that you need to have achdus for Kabbalah Torah. It's not if you say it in brisket, it's nicht din von achdus. It's not that you can't have Kabbalah Torah without achdus. But if there's a lack of achdus, that's a proof that you still have yeshus. If you don't have any gaiva, there's no any friction is based on myself and my viewpoint and whatever. If there's true anova, whatever level the anova is, then there's no mokum for any period. So you can't be makabel if there's any chesar and achdus, that's a raya. So if you need gans klal Yisrael to makabel the Torah, let's say everyone's gonna do it as an individual. But if any yid that's not ba'achdus is by him, he's not able to makabel the Torah because it's a felt in zayin anova, and the Torah was given to gans klal Yisrael, so you needed them all to be kesh echad b'leiv echad. But it's every person in their individual kabbalah klapa Hashem needs to know that the more I am a complete in my anava, I'm able to see that I'm mevat myself to Hashem, then I'll be able to makabel Torah as well. It goes hand in hand because it's taking away the yeshus myself. It's always good to have stories. I was trying to think of a story, but the only thing I can remember is what I taught in class not long ago, Parshas Mitzayro. But it brings a point across. The Tzibner Rov, the Tzaddik Levracha, was a genius. He knew Kala Torah Kula. And there was an American rabbi that was visiting him from some kehillah. This was probably in the post-war years, and he's in Eretz Yisrael already. And Gad Ladar sitting there, visiting rabbi, coming to greet. And so he starts talking to him about his community, and he starts complaining about all the issues that he has, and the balabatim and the pradon, or whatever it is that And the Tzibner Rov was very careful never to do lashon hara. Now, as he's talking, all of a sudden the Tzibner Rov just fell asleep. And he's waiting. He came to visit. The visiting dignitary visit. Garnish mit nicht. After like 20 minutes, he told, he's an old man. The Tzibner Rov was elderly. He said, hey, I guess, I was waiting, but it doesn't seem like, the Rav is going to wake up. So I'm going to go tell him that, and he left. The minute he left, the head went up. And the Gavan said, what? He said, I didn't want to embarrass him. I didn't want to do anything disrespectful. So, Pshat, he was sensitive. He didn't care that he's going to look like the fool. That's Achdus, that's Anova, on a level of real bit like there's no eye that now needs to be on the table. The Lashon Hara shouldn't happen, but he shouldn't get hurt. So I'll fall asleep.
I'm good at being mevatel someone else's eye. That counts for something.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah, that's it's a very hard job. That's what I'm saying. It's a never-ending job. We all work in it, but it is fundamental, and you see it in many aspects of the Kabbalah Torah. So the inyan of Hagbala V'Kidashta, the Mar V'Shamesh Talmud of Rebbe Elimelech of Lizhens, he writes a very interesting thing. He says the Jewish people said, we want to hear from Hashem himself. We don't want to hear from Moshe. We want to do it. He said, when you're looking to go further to where you're holding the Yom Madrega, that's a sign of Gaiva. You hold of yourself something, right? You're making the mitzvah of Akbala was, it's good. You work for 49 days, but you have to stay b'shiflus. They told them, you have Yom Madrega, don't jump the levels. Don't think you are what you're not. Shiflus. And very interestingly, also a connection to Anova, we asked how is it that the Klal Yisrael fell asleep? Says the Arugas Haboisim that they were amazing on everything, but they were feeling good. They were feeling good, and Hashem wanted Leiv Niva V'Nitka. Hashem was right to Baruch Mishbar. It was Mamish Min Hashemayim. He made them oversleep so they should wake up feeling like not good about themselves. Not good, meaning realize I'm a human being. I'm always going to make mistakes. I'm not perfect. I do the best I could, but I'm going to be Makabal Torah like that. I'm going in. That was a better Knisa to Kabbalah Torah. The Yismach Yisrael says also similar Knech, not to break, not that you should have Shiva and Alev, but more to recognize that nothing is, without Hashem, you have nothing. You can't do anything without Hashem. you need his help, you could be doing Achana for 49 days. So Mamela, this that they fell asleep was meant to get them to the proper level of Anova. They should take so now just the Messiah. So that's what my son asked me, what are you doing? And I told him Anova, he was punked opening this, and this came my way. So this is the Musar to me was this was last that came as I was writing this. Akapana, we should all be Zaycha. Yeah, Baruch Hashem helped that it came out good. And we should all be Zaycha to have Achdus, happiness, Kalatar
Yeah, that's what it's a great excuse.
Yeah.
Every time I fall asleep, I come late to the chakras by the Meshkiach.
We're talking about Kabbalah.
Yeah.
I don't want to come to Minyan on time. It's enough. No, but I'm working on myself.
They went through everything.
Right.
Through 40 years of Yiddin.
It's not yet. Now it's not yet.
No, 1 year, 49 days.
You know, why would he do that to them? But that was good for them, it seems like. You shouldn't be
49
proud.
days.
49 days. 49 days. But it was good. I also brought this up. If anyone wants it work, this entire Sefer Eish Das, the Azure Rava is only on the meat of Anava, from beginning to end. So this downstairs here in the Oitzer. Yeah. You could. Yeah.
It's terminology.
But it's it is very hard. You have to say,
why is it crowned? If it happens to be on the king's head, then it's
can't be to break the person.
in other words, it needs other things
That's hard.
to verify the It has Malchus is what's a good example of Malchus?
To say such a
What's the shaykhs telling somebody?
His kid is buried here.
You know,
What do you know?
the Teicheruf.
Yeah, Teicheruf.
And the discuss the concept of Malchus. Because Malchus doesn't have any ego on its own. It's really, everything is, Chesed, when it manifests itself, it's really using Malchus to manifest itself. It's it's clear water. It has no ego. I don't know if we're right, something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying, that it's that's what the definition of what Malchus means.
Who do you think?
No, when you're talking about when you're dividing up all the midas, you said everything that's right? Because every single midah has a beginning and an end.
But we don't really understand either.
Well, one is right and it's left and middle. It's the middle.
Not for us. We don't understand.
Right. Chesed is easier. The Pharisees, the merging of the two is easier to understand.
Right. So Chesed so these are subsets of Chesed and Vur. Right and left is Netzach Hoid and Yisoid, and then Malchus is a manifestation of all of that.
Yeah, not that it can relate to.
We can understand it as a human being.
When you're actually
And
visualizing,
even Malchus, to a certain extent,
you're seeing
understand,
the
yeah,
Mahamad
of those we can understand it.
Right. Hoid is harder.
Malchus allows the expression of Chesed and Gevurah of all the other midas. Enables
that's why Malchus is the highest.
Right.
In other words, let's say I want to
we've had many conversations.
I want to give you a glass of water. So I have in my mind that I want to give you a glass of water. So that's in a sense Chesed. But Chesed has to manifest itself.
Right.
So what's the act of giving you the water? My hand has no
whatever else.
So when it's acting out
The action
of what it's above it, and that's what Malchus is. Malchus is merely the expression of actions of everything above it that's making it work.
You're a flat pusher or a borough parker?
Yeah, keep on
both.
but I don't want my
First 10 years of my life, Bar Park, and then my parents moved to Flatbush.
And that's why I come late to shul on Shabbos.
I lived in Flatbush, like OMP, E17, and that area.
What did they not in there?
They were like Ushri. They were from Shar. From Shar was most of the years, was the main. After it opened
The
up.
glass allows you to see the glass
Yeah.
itself.
And you live in Flatbush?
Yeah.
The glass thinks that
Sorry,
it's a
First
separate
East 15,
so
no,
it's getting
first East
way
16 to OMP, and then we moved actually.
Usher's related to the one that, from
just to be able
World War II.
Yes, his father.
So what's the matter with the Malchus then?
16 to
Malchus
OMP.
is,
He was E17. I lived on E17.
Malchus is
I
the
grew up in East
manifestation of all the
Mama's
other
grew up
midas.
there. My
It's
mother's
the
still there.
expression of
Even
everything
though
else.
I was
It's I'm trying to look at
when
the.
he's 9,
It's similar to
16, by the train tracks.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Yeah,
the
I was on the other side.
And he was there. Yeah, the police measures there.
I'm calling.
No, 5 o'clock was on Cornell.
The
No,
Balmachshire.
I'll figure for tomorrow we'll have it. Goldstein will be here.
Right here.
Garnish.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Yeah. Right? You have a garnish.
The garnish.
I just understand
You don't throw floppy.
this is
Yeah.
what it means.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm
There
I'm
are
glad
no
with my
chefs.
Yeah.
Went to the Alpo.
really.
Yeah, Hershkowitz. All their cheers.
Character traits, moral values.
I went to Chaim so it's
Also the neighborhood. Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that the Chassidus place?
Yeah, that's not that hard. And Yisoid is the
See the Schlitz.
I know.
Yeah. I'm
right. Okay, fine.
yeah, yeah.
He comes from all Chassinis.
Yeah,
Netzach means okay.
Netzach usually means
So nice. How'd you end up in Toronto?
and be able to
And marry my Balak's daughter.
and say, I want to grow, I want to eat. Void restricts. Void is in a sense is
30?
more defensive.
You know my brother-in-law's
What are
30?
you doing? Slow down.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
I'm
external.
not as great as
Rabbi
in
in
Front
St. Alhambra. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
desire to win and
Where
the
you live
need
now?
to hold back.
I live on Ridgevale.
balance.
Regina.
Chesed and
What's your name?
Feintel.
See, the Pharis is not really needed.
You're a Fettman, right?
That's, yeah. I have a brother here also. It's a son-in-law by Rakiba Adler. You know from Yisrael, the Rebbe in 5th grade.
When you see me and acting this
I'm not
way,
a
what you're seeing
Franconian.
is
My boy didn't go to
you're
Yisrael.
seeing the expression at the end of all my thoughts and movements and everything. That's Malchus. For you, the Malchus is the beginning. You take the Malchus and you take
My
I
pleasure.
to your son.
Yeah, yeah. That was good. I was not. He was so, yeah.
The second,
to extrapolate.
I was 13. I was 14. He just turned 14.
Everything comes
over.
Yeah, yeah, I'll tell him.
He's
That's what I want.
Yeah, Bakshem, he's
You learned by also, so you maybe together with Yaakov Kaufman then when he was in Michigan, when he was by
Actually, I joined Rabbi Mel's Kaitel.
after he
I
left.
took his place, yeah.
Oh, you learned by your mother?
Yeah, yeah.
Part of the introduction. You did an introduction.
No, I was.
You came late.
I was busy serving.
For me, Malchus.
I got other jobs to
The
do.
expression of the chesed and the good,
Really nice,
the
really
desire
nice.
to do right. You felt that desire
Just into the
receiving it. Then you're able to understand the chesed.
Kiva, I want to make you happy. The Rav mentioned the pasuk of Leiv Nishba V'Nidkel Kimoi Sivta. So I was just reading recently Rav Moshe Wolfson.
Yeah.
You know what Moshe Wolfson was?
That's where I done when I still lived in Bog Park. My father down by Rosh.
You know what Moshe Wolfson was?
Before my parents moved.
Moshe Wolfson was the Mashgiach in Torah V'das and Munis Yisrael.
Moshe Wilson, yeah.
The Munis Yisrael.
Right. Okay.
So he was very close to the Lubavitch Rebbe.
Right.
You know he was very close to the Lubavitch Rebbe?
No, I'm hearing it to your
I'm
telling
going to make him happy now. He did me a big favor today, so I'm going to make him happy.
I'd rather you owe me.
So they asked him, why is a Chassid al Lubavitch Rebbe? Why he became... So he said he had an anicle that was sick. And he went there, and he was in Eretz Yisrael, and he was saying, Krishma Nusach Arizal, or something like that.
Krishma is the Torah. There's no Nusach Harizal.
There's a Nusach.
I know, Lubavitch wants to change it, but
Almita meant. No, I meant Almita. They have in that Krishma. There's the pasuk of and you repeat that pasuk many times. That pasuk he was thinking about his anicle, and he kept repeating that pasuk. Then he came to the Rebbe, and he asked the Rebbe for a bracha for his anicle. And the Rebbe told him, someone that says, Leiv Nivke V'Nizver, Elokim Lo Yisibsa, doesn't need a bracha.
You read this in the book, someone?
Saw it in
Very nice.
Army magazine after he was nifted.
Army magazine.
Oh, I read the story. Now I remember.
Very nice.
And
Yeah,
why
you're right. He better have gotten better. Otherwise,
Otherwise, it's not a
the
story.
story's not a good story. Then another thing he had with the Rebbe, same Rav Moshe Wolfson,